Hi everybody, welcome to Patrick's Scale Studio. My name is Patrick and I'll be your host. So tonight we are going to do some work here, beginning work on the German submarine U-boat type 7C41. Pretty much we should be able to get through our first step, tape it up, and we're probably going to skip ahead and hit 5 here so we can kind of get that taped up, and so it'll be waiting to get onto the hull when it's time. We'll get some general, pretty quick and easy things done and out of the way so that we can get the waiting out of the way before we move on to more fun things on this. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started here. With step 1, looks like we're going to be building the stand. So in order to build the stand, we're going to need parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just these 4 parts right here. So we'll go ahead and move these instructions out of the way. Hopefully that helps the resolution and the contrast a little bit better as well. And we'll begin to go ahead and cut these all off. Alright, yeah, we just put down some primer and then some paint on parts of my USS Curtis Wilbur. So that is in various stages of drying for the moment, which frees me up to begin work on this fabulous little kit. All right, so we got those 4 pieces cut out here. Let's have a look at these pieces. Ooh, we got some flash. All right, and let's have a look here. Our instructions. It looks like these are going to fit together kind of like that. So one of these has a pin on it. So it looks like the one with a pin will end up going let's see, somewhere back here. Yep, right there. After we get everything cleaned up. And then this right here will go up here. And this will go in the back. All right, so let's go ahead and work on getting these parts cleaned up a little bit. I've got a rougher sanding stick right here. So we're going to go ahead and start attacking this in a diagonal motion like this. All right. And what we're basically looking for is just to get rid of that mold seam. And we'll go back and forth a little bit. I'm really just trying to knock back that mold seam and make that a nice smooth piece. And then we've got a little nub here on the end where it was attached to the sprue. We'll go ahead and that back. All right. Another mold seam right here. I'm going to go ahead and work on getting that knocked back. It's better to do the majority of the heavy lifting with this versus something like a 400 or 600. That way, getting most of the plastic removed this way pretty quickly and efficiently. And then you're going back in and refining it with the finer grades or the finer grits. So go ahead and start attacking this other side. All right, so one thing I might call your attention to while we're doing this is the bottom of this stand has got these exact same mold seams. But the nice thing about that is no one's picking up the stand and looking underneath it. So it's up to you, of course, but you can let that go. Anything you might want to do is knock back these and maybe smooth it out a little bit if you've got the little nibs there. But if you got that, you think about this, it's going to be right there. You are never going to see those mold seams, so it'll save you a little bit of work. A little sprue nib up there on the top. All right. And we will go to the next one. And again, you know, a lot of the things that really tend to bother us modelers, like these ejector pin marks right here, is on the inside of these parts, on the inside. And, you know, if you're leaving a mold seam on the bottom, that's not a big deal. In the end, you're going to have this, and this submarine is going to be sitting on top of it. So you're not even going to notice ejector pin marks in there, not unless you separate this from the main kit. And you're not going to notice the mold seams unless you pick it up and turn it over and go looking for mold seams on the bottom of the stand. I think that for the most part, if you're not going to a show and trying to win first prize for a 1/144th scale German U-boat, World War II, there's probably better things you can do with your time than to go looking for mold seams on the bottom of U-boat stands. So go ahead and finishing this up. You know, it's funny if you go and pay attention to yourself. You set out to do one thing one way, like sand pieces like this in a diagonal fashion, because it's the best way to do it. Well, so some say. And then you still find yourself doing this down the road. That's just the nature of the beast. Well, let's face it, for most of us, sanding these kits down or sanding these parts down is not the most fun part of this process. It's a very necessary part, but it's not fun. Not in the slightest. Again, a lot more fun things like gluing parts together, getting some painting, getting some airbrushing done, and doing a little bit of weathering. Those are good times. All right, so I got the tops here. Oh, forgot this end. Go ahead. All this plastic dust I've already got on my hand here just from sanding down this stand. So one thing that I was looking at here is the hull halves, luckily, do not have big fat mold seams like this. So that's a nice surprise. I won't have to worry about fixing that, getting that sanded. Less sanding, the better. It gets us quickly to cutting things out and gluing them together so we can have a finished project. Among some of the benefits of this kit and this subject is there's no internal parts that need painting. Everything on this is going to be on the outside. So for the most part, very little pre-painting that has to be done. For the most part, it's just going to be cleaning these parts up, making them look good, making sure they fit together properly, and then gluing them down, gluing them to each other, and in some cases, taping them up and waiting. So now we've gotten that done. It was a lovely exercise. go ahead and do it like this. I'm going to use some of this thicker stuff here. Model Master liquid cement for plastic models. This isn't exactly the old-fashioned tube glue, mind you, but it's got a much thicker viscosity, I guess you'd say, than the extra thin quick setting. But also, this does a better job of attacking the plastic and making a better join. All right. A little bit there. Yep. Okay. So still just checking to make sure that. There we go. I want to get that plastic to begin softening. And I know what you're thinking. Like, oh man, he's forgotten about refining and sanding marks with the 400 and 600 to make those sanding marks disappear. No, I haven't forgotten. We'll get to that after put this aside and let it dry a little bit. As I said, sanding's no fun. This here is the fun part. Look at that. All right, and come on, there we go. Almost there while I bump the camera. Look at that. All right, and it's fairly square, not too shabby. So what I'll do to kind of help that out a little bit now, I'll use this quick setting. Make sure I can put this aside and it doesn't start doing anything crazy like falling apart on us. There we go. The inaugural 4 parts for the U-boat Type 7C41 Atlantic version by Revell of Germany. All right, stand is done. Onward. So now that's got us putting together our 2 hull halves. Oops. I bumped the camera again with the hull halves. Part 10, part 11. Yeah, Revell 2006. So it looks like this was originally intended to be just a U-boat Type 7, not the 7C, or maybe this was supposed to be a 7C. It doesn't say, but it is definitely a Type 7 something. Okay, as I was saying before I so clumsily hit the key on my keyboard, which cut off the last segment prematurely. So we've got hull halves, 10, 11, and now we need these formers here, which is 12 and 13, and then we need this part right here, 14. Right there. There we go. So let's go ahead and start chopping these things out. As I stated earlier, I was looking, we don't have any really nasty cleanup parts on this. Of course, I'm going to do a little bit of test fitting. But on my initial inspection, Watson, everything seemed to be copacetic. All right, so there we go. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Cool. So go ahead and again Let's just check this fit out real quick. Let's see if there's anything that's gonna get in our way of this being an amazing fit. So we got a slight gap right up here. I'll have to look at that a little bit, but that looks good. This looks good. This looks good. Maybe something back there. So then it looks like this right here comes along and kind of gets smooshed into there in between those. This right here is smushed in right about there. And this one right about there. Then I read a bit further in the instructions, and it also looks like some of this stuff helps support the deck. So it is important that this gets cleaned up and properly fitted. But all right, let's go ahead and move on. So I would imagine that our issue with these hole halves is right in this general area here. I'm going to take our rounded X-Acto knife. Should be able to start removing some plastic. And a little bit dollop will do you, meaning just a little bit at a time. And we don't want to pull off too much because this plastic's pretty thin right here. So we don't want to start affecting the detail on the opposite side. But we also want to make sure we have a reliable gluing surface. So let's check this one here. All right, there we go. Yeah, go away. See these little mounting lugs or gluing lugs kind of help align everything and make sure that the glue fumes aren't getting to us so much that we can't get these aligned and fit properly. Let's have a look. Whoa, much better, much better. So that took care of that seam. So let's have a look back here. It's right there on that. This right here, oh my god, it looks pretty good. But it's these two little bits right here. So let's, we're just going to use some heavier grit here. This is a nice change too. I'm able to use just my normal reading eyeglasses to see these parts versus when I'm working on the Curtis Wilbur in that photo etch and I've got to put these on. And yeah, it's nerd repair to my Optivisor. It's just not down the center, it's only on the left. But yeah, it's those parts are so tiny on the Curtis Wilbur that I got to put these on to be able to see anything properly. It's kind of nice that I don't have to do that with this. I'm able to see just fine. Let's see here. All right, see? That closed up quite a bit. I think a little bit of glue gonna help us out unless it's possible our alignment pin causing part of the issue here. Let's see. I felt this was an interesting kit. One, no one's really done anything on YouTube with this kit. A couple reviews here and there, but nothing extensive. Perfect. There we go. That looks great. Hey, one thing that I've noticed in a lot of the forums and various places that I read up on our hobby is a lot of people don't give Revell a lot of credit anymore for making fantastic kits. And part of that reputation, I guess, is they didn't do a great job in a lot of their kits. Usually fit problems or just poor engineering or something like that. But I don't know. Recently, they've come a long way. Long way. If you remember the 1/48 P40, I don't even know how old that kit is, but let's say it's older than me. I'm relatively sure it's older than me, which is going to put it close to 50 years. And it is an awful kit. It is an absolutely terrible kit. But this right here, this seems to be going together so well, so nice. Also, I'm going to be working there on the Hawker Hurricane in 1/32 scale that they put out. It's been a pretty nice kit so far to work on. Everything's pretty crisply molded. Make sure I don't trip over the word crisply. But yeah, everything's molded pretty well in that kit. So here we go. Okay, looks like got everything nicely cleaned up. So let's see how this goes. Oh, I think this goes like that. All right, and now got this guy here. Okay. So far, so good. All right. The nice thing about, again, this kit, without 1,300 plus parts that are microscopic in size, I get to practice general modeling skills and get to have fun with the kit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had fun with the Curtis Wilbur. I had fun with a lot of those really super fancy modeling kits. They're fun. But there's just something to be said about having a nice kit like this. Pretty generalized. The pieces are in good size. I've seen some online examples where people have finished them up, and they look fantastic. And then the true beauty and art comes into play when we finish it and paint it. So hopefully you guys are all here to watch that come to fruition. Come on. That looks fantastic. Wow. It is really cool. Now, this is my first submarine kit. I'll be crystal clear on that. This is my first submarine kit. Actually, this might be my second or third kit ever doing 1/144th scale too. Can't tell, is that flat all the way? No, it's a little bit recessed, so again, just on the edge here. So, a couple firsts here. First submarine. It was my first ship kit ever in this scale. I think a long time ago, if I recall correctly, I had a couple of Navy warplanes, Navy jets that I put together in 1/144th. One was a Tomcat, in fact. I can't remember if I actually put them together. I feel like I had them, but I can't recall if I actually did anything with them. Anyway, they were pretty neat little kits. I just did the basic modeler thing where I wasn't ready to build it yet. I just took it out of the box and admired the contents of that kit and how cleverly it was engineered and molded. It was pretty cool. And then, sat there and started imagining things I would do to make it look amazing. But, it was a different time. Okay, let's see. All right, look at that. That just went together so nicely. Make sure I don't have any. Nope. No cement on the hands. It's an important thing. These teeny tiny little surface details and rivet details on this guy, and might need something a little bit more substantial than 6mm Tamiya tape. 18mm Tamiya tape. But yeah, all those tiny little details that get really, really screwed up with one slip of a glue covered finger. So let's avoid that. Let's avoid doing that at all costs. All right. I'm not overly concerned about the glue on this bottom half. For one, this glue's pretty thick. It's not going to do a lot of wicking. Not like this stuff. Second, that drops into plastic. It is hitting every crack, crevice, anything it can get into, and it's going to go there, and it's going to sit, and it's going to do what that glue does to plastic. And if your fingers are there, or there's tape there, it will punish you for making that mistake. But this stuff's pretty good. It won't do that. Perfect. And there we go. Just the tiniest of steps, but not terrible. Nothing that can't be made to go away with a couple passes of a hobby blade. So that's good. Same thing up here. All right. I require a bit more tape up here. So there we go. I feel like I should have laid them flat, taped it, and then done that. It would have pulled everything real nice and tight. But Okay, cool. Just about there. A lot of tape, but we do want this to glue or cement to each other well. We don't want any problems. All right, so now a clamp. I don't know how I feel about that clamp going on there. This plastic is so thin. There we go. I think what we'll end up doing is taking a little bit of CA glue, applying it on the inside, and kind of letting it run down a little bit. And that should help keep this together. Now let's have a look back here now. Okay. You know, I've never been the world's best taper when it comes to models. I can wrap presents. Wrap presents great. And I see what I've done there is I've taped it across the gap. It's pulling the top into each other and pulling this top out, or bottom out. So let's do that. Well, there we go. That looks so much better now. All right. There we go. There we have it. So I wonder first, push this together, if we can get any of this to work. We can get this to work versus CA. That would be preferable. Let's see. We'll just kind of hold that in place. Okay. That looks pretty good. And then that in turn would sit there on our stand. So again, if you're looking at this, you're not seeing any ejector pin marks on the inside of that. And no one's picking this up and going, oh, yep, look, see mold seams. No, it's not happening. I'll just put this aside now. And I think the last thing I wanted to get for this installment, while we wait for everything to dry, I'm going to go ahead and get 17 attached to 18, 15 attached to 16, so I can get those drying, because those then will attach to this hull. So where we have there, okay, 17 and 18. You know what we might do is I think I'll detach. Okay, that was 17, and we're attaching that to 18. I'm going to leave 18 right on there for now. And we'll just go ahead and, if we can get away with it, glue him while they're still in the sprue. such... I don't know if anyone still does that. I remember doing that when I was younger. You know, when you have your, like, AIM-9 missiles and gluing the fins on. And just leave the things right there on the sprue and glue the fins to them and let them glue like that. That's just one of the things I did when I was younger. I thought it was so clever. It made clean up a royal pain in the behind later when I pulled those pieces off, but I don't think I'm the only modeler that's done it that way. There's still modelers that might even prefer doing it that way. One thing's for certain, I'm going to do it that way in this video, because that looks like a good way. Here, in fact, we'll do this. Oh, look at that. Make plastic fly. Okay, so I'm going to clean up this part while it's on the sprue right here. And cut off enough of that sprue so I can slip this sanding stick in there. And the last attachment point is a mounting tab that's going to go on the inside of the hole anyway, so we won't even see it. That is a win. Alright, so let's go ahead and... Cool. Alright, look at that. Again, the alignment pins are doing a pretty good job. Well, the single alignment pin did a pretty good job up there. Okay, cool. Onward. Move these out of the way. Sorry about that. Well, the modeling is nothing new for me. The filming is new for me. So, it just doesn't occur to me through the normal means of modeling normally to notice that these bright white instructions underneath the lights are just blowing out the contrast to everything else. So, appreciate your patience with me though while I learn. We'll get it one of these days. But until then, I'm going to continue to have fun doing this. You know, I was looking at the stash, looking at different kits that I had available, so I could start up a new video series. Well, like I said, I'm waiting for parts on the Curtis Wilbur to dry, because frankly, waiting for parts to dry sucks and is incredibly boring. It's no fun. No one likes waiting for stuff to dry like that. Can't do anything else except sit there and stare at it and wish it was done drying. So I have this kit. I had a M48 A3 Mod B. Boy, that's a mouthful. By Tacom, and that is the M48 patent take used in Vietnam pretty extensively, which is odd. I went out looking for examples on that one too. People that have made those kits, and just not a subject that there's a lot of completed kits or reviews out there for, which is interesting. There's tons of Shermans out there. Not really any patents out there. But it was either that one or this one. I already kind of have the nautical theme going. Built tanks before. I've never built submarines. And this was a personal gift from my father. So that was kind of the deciding factor. I'd like to go ahead and start working on this and start getting this built up and see what this turns into. So, okay. Well, we've got everything in this video done that I wish to do. I really appreciate you joining me for this installment here. The next one, we're going to be working on the decks and getting some of this stuff together on the hull, maybe getting the hull cleaned up a little bit and getting some of this stuff knocked out. I thank you very much for your time and joining me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions on how I can improve, please feel free to leave that feedback for me in the comment section on this video. And again, thank you for watching. Happy modeling.